Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the Health Tech Health Check series. We know our customers are incredibly busy people, which is why we're calling this a micro learning session. We're committed to providing you as much value and learning as possible in 30 minutes or less. So, with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Brock Fawcett, and I'm the customer marketing manager here at Vasion, the visionary company that makes technologies like printer logic technologies possible. I'm excited to be your moderator once again for the Health Tech Health Check series. As the title suggests, we have geared the series toward customers in the healthcare sector, but even if you're joining us from another industry or profession, or whether you're a customer or a prospect or a partner, we trust you're going to find value in today's session. Now, before we get started, I wanted to remind you that you can still register for the other episodes in the series. Episodes 1 and 2 are available on demand. Those episodes focus on optimizing out-of-the-box printer logic features and then advanced security features, respectively. And then our next episode will be broadcast live from Vasion's Executive Briefing Center, where we're going to show you some pretty amazing technologies that will enable you to make cross-functional orchestrated automations a reality at your organization. So please do register for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Today, however, we're going to demonstrate how printer logic is changing the game in output management. In fact, we're advancing standard output management into a new era we call output automation. So what does output automation mean for those of you in the healthcare space? Well, as you'll learn today, not only does output automation allow you to streamline processes and improve efficiencies in your healthcare facilities, it can greatly mitigate security risks. Now, last month, in our second episode of the Health Tech Health Check series, we spoke about how in 2023, HIPAA violations cost healthcare around $8 billion. Health-related data breaches are on the rise, and as you can see here, 4.3 million people were recently impacted in a huge breach. So today, we'll provide you with an overview of output automation and its benefits, which include enhanced security and driving greater efficiencies, as I said. We'll run through the nuts and bolts of how it all works. We'll discuss rules and routing and other game-changing features that differentiate printer logic by Vasion from its competition. And we'll end with a quick Q&A session, so feel free to ask any questions and share your comments and thoughts using the Q&A function. Of course, when I say we're going to do this, what I really mean is our trusted output automation experts who've joined me here today are going to do that. And so I'm happy to present you to Senior Product Manager Ken Mickelson and Boston Cartwright, Engineering Manager, Output Automation and AI. Gentlemen, please take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Brock, for that lead up. So output automation is a set of features that are available as part of, I guess I call it an expansion over the Vasion Print platform that you are probably already familiar with. And with the output automation feature set, what we can do is we can take files and output from your large scale applications or your EMRs like Epic or Oracle Cerner, Oracle Health or Cerner, and other applications like that. And then to make sure that that output is delivered where it needs to go in the format it needs to be in when it needs to get there. As part of that, we are able to centralize all of the management that you are doing both in this environment as well as your administrative side with the front end printing that is the real bread and butter of the Vasion Print platform. And with that centralization, you now have the same user in both environments for reporting and secure release, as well as the same print queues that you can manage across all of your different environments, and it makes it a very streamlined process from that standpoint. It also introduces the ability to send jobs across the internet securely, or to do secure release printing for, you could take what you had already done on the administrative side and also extend that to your clinical EMR printing, so that we can make sure PHI is not being, sitting out on paper trays until someone actually swipes a badge, and similar functionality like that. And then, of course, with this type of printing that is coming from your EMRs, it is of the utmost importance that nothing interrupts those processes, because if after visit summaries or prescriptions and anything else that might be printed out is not happening, then that's going to cause disruptions for your providers and for your patients. So we want to make that ensure that that keeps going. And then lastly, we also just want to provide this modern platform so that you can still accomplish the things that you need to accomplish with some of your legacy infrastructure, but in providing the tools that you need to do that in a modern and streamlined way. So the core part of the output automation platform are its connectors. And there are two of those right now, the LPD service and the API print service. And this is the part of the output feature set that allows us to ingest files from the different EMRs that exist out there in your environment. So the LPD service can receive documents using the LPR protocol. It's a print protocol. It's been around for ages, since at least the 90s. And pretty much anything that can print or has the capabilities of print would have the ability to forward jobs using this. So uh, Oracle Health is a good example of one of the applications we use to connect to using this LPD service. The second one is the API print service, and this is used to receive files via post requests, so just standard web requests that you would normally have out on the internet. And with that, we would see this normally connecting to Epic using their output management API. So this is a discrete integration with Epic. And then additionally, we have our own generic API that can be used for custom SDKs or other APIs where if you want to create a custom connector to get files in, you can do so using that service as well. So once we actually receive a file via one of those connectors, those files are going to be handed off to a kind of a universal pipeline where we are going to look at the data of the file that we received to try to identify who the user was that submitted the file, as well as any finishing details. Is it duplex or color versus black and white? And then based on that, we're going to make a decision on what we're going to do with that file. And then we're going to deliver it. Most basic level, it would just be a direct IP print where we're going to make sure that that file gets sent to the printer, just directly from one of our output services. But additionally, we can extend secure release and off-network printing, and we'll talk about the details of that in just a little bit. And then lastly, apply some automation in the form of rules and routing, which we'll also touch on. Before we get to that, though, I want to talk about the high availability that we provide, and Boston was going to cover that.
Yeah, I think it's really cool what we've shown so far. I think something important to note is that the jobs are always local. The jobs don't go over the network unless you specifically asking them to through off network. So for security and privacy, the print job data is always local. And we know that printing is critical to all of your businesses. And so we've provided this high availability and redundancy configuration to enable printing to always be up and running. So in scenarios where that's needed, multiple output management service clients can be ran together in order to manage jobs and load balance them. But also, if one goes down, the other one can pick them up and complete the job so that printing is always going. How this works is we receive jobs in this example from Epic, and they can go to a load balancer that divides the jobs evenly between the two services. Then one of the services will send those to the printer in it, as Ken showed in our normal flow. But if one goes down, the other service will always go and pick up the rest of the jobs and complete them so that your jobs are always printed. Lastly, we'll also return a status to Epic so that Epic knows that the job was completed successfully.
Awesome. Thank you for that explanation, Boston. And I did skim by a little bit on that last slide, just that I wanted to touch on. This does run on a service client. So that is something you may be familiar with already. When we install our end user client to various machines, we can also then elevate it to do additional tasks or provide these services. And in our case, it would be running the output automation service there. So that can run on any Windows or Debian-based Linux box. And then, as Boston mentioned, we do that because we want the print jobs to stay local to your network as much as possible for security reasons. So I also touched on Output's ability to send print jobs via off network. We usually see this being used with affiliate clinics or just remote clinics where you would normally have to have some sort of VPN connection to facilitate the printing to those locations. But by using off network, we can get rid of the need to do that. And the way that it works is the original EMR is going to send a file to the output automation service client. And from there, once we get that file, we will identify that this is supposed to be an off-network job and we'll encrypt it and then send that encrypted file to a gateway that is run on our side normally, though you can host it yourself. And then On the printer side, within the network that can speak to the printers, there's an internal routing service, and it is keeping a constant connection to the gateway, watching for any jobs coming in. When it sees one that's destined for a printer that it has purview over, then it's going to open a new connection, download that down, and then push it directly to the printer. So using that methodology, we're able to avoid having to open any ports or use a VPN. And then the other kind of general Vasion feature that we extend is secure release, where you can take what we already do with the front end or the administrative printing from end user workstations and allow your users to still release jobs via the EMR printing. And this is normally not really possible because the way that you identify who sent a job is you look at who was logged into the machine when the job was submitted. But if the job is coming straight from your EMR to, say, traditionally a print server, there's no one logged in there to do that association. And so by leveraging output, you can look at the data that arrived with the actual print job and identify the user that way. And then as part of that, we'll then hold the job encrypted, and until a user walks to the printer and swipes their badge, that communication is going to come up to our SaaS platform, and then it's going to be communicated down to the output service client, and at that point it will only release the job. So you can make sure that there's an actual user standing in front of the device before it's printed out. So that is secure release. So as we move on, the next feature is rules and routing, and this is a currently output automation specific feature that allows you to apply different types of automation to the traffic flowing through your output services. So when a job comes in, it's evaluated, and we look for certain conditions, and then based on that, we apply a behavior. So as we look at that, I kind of touched on it just then, but I want to highlight the three pieces of a rule. The first is a trigger, and the trigger is just the event that we're watching for that's going to prompt us to check, is there behavior that I'm supposed to apply here? That could be something like a print job failed to be sent to a printer, or a print job was successfully sent to a printer, or we just now received this file. So based on that, if I see a trigger occur, then I'm going to then check for any conditions that apply based on rules that have been created. So that could be a certain print job title, or maybe a certain user who submitted the file, if the document's over a certain amount of pages, or different types of metadata or criteria like that. And then if those conditions apply, then we perform an action. And so at that point, if the condition applies, then we could redirect the job to a different printer, or change the settings of the job itself. And we'll get into some specific examples, but that is the general makeup of how you would create a rule, and then that would give you the flexibility that you need to accomplish what you need to. So let's talk about some specific use cases. The first would be the automatic redirection. And with this, I already alluded to some of the attributes that you would use within a rule. The trigger would be, hey, there's a print job that failed. And the condition could be it failed to this specific printer. And then the action would be, I want to reroute that job to this backup printer. So with that, we can keep the flow of traffic going, and maybe we also send an email to the user who submitted the job so they know that their file has been sent somewhere else. A additional use case would be round robin printing, and this is often used in cases where there's a high volume of print that you need to exceed the capabilities of a single printer and how fast something needs to be printed out. And so with this, you could specify a group of printers that you want to be within this round robin cycle. And then as a job comes in, we'll just send it to one of these printers, and it will go through there to make sure things keep flowing. There is also print job archival, and with this we can print the file, but then in addition to, or instead of printing, we could convert the file to a PDF if it needs to be, and then send it up to our Automate or our Pro platform to have it store the document, but then the most importantly to also index the metadata that came with it. So the user that sent the job would be associated with the destination printer, and all of the normal metadata that we capture. But then with that, you can now search back. So if there's any auditing or regulatory reasons where you may have to go and look back at what was printed, you can not only search and see who printed what, but then actually pull up an image of the document itself that was printed out. The fourth one here is user reassignment, and with this we can uh, change what user is associated with a print job. This is often used for cases where there's an anonymous job or a system generated from your EMR where there is no user associated with it. It wasn't a user who kicked it off, but you still want to be able to release the job or maybe change on how it's reported. So with this, you could associate the job with a new user, and then at that point, it would just be able to be used as it normally would for the user that it was reassigned to. And then we have duplicate delivery, where we're taking one file and we're just distributing that out to a lot of printers all at the same time. One of the good examples I like for a use case with this one was a customer who was dealing with transportation, and every day they needed to determine how many train cars were needed at certain locations, and what employees needed to be in which or which stations. And once those instructions were built out, it needed to be printed at every location. And they had this very complicated process where they were involving 4 different vendors, and fax to email, and then it goes to a distribution list and all sorts of stuff like that. And instead, you can just create a rule, send a print job, and have us take care of it. So it's a really simple way to approach that. And then lastly, as far as the use cases I want to cover today, is the ability to dynamically set the paper tray that we send a job to. Usually this is handled by the EMR, but we've seen cases where the EMR can't send the proper tray value that needs to be communicated to the printer. And so we can adjust that on the fly and make sure that they end up where they need to go. So as far
Yeah.
as how it works, you want to jump into that, Boston?
Yeah, I'd love to. I think like those are some really excellent use cases. And we've built it to be so dynamic that you can build whatever use case you need out of it with the triggers, conditions, and actions that are there. The way that it works is here we have the source application, that's your EMR, whether it's Epic or Oracle Health or whichever it is. The jobs come into the output service. And at that point, we make a call to the cloud to see what automation we should take from it, whether it's some like duplicate print or whatever the automation is. We just ask the cloud like, hey, what should we do from it? And it responds, and then the output service accomplishes those actions. So just to make sure that it's still seamless and secure, that that print job stays on the service, but it doesn't go anywhere else. All that's hitting the cloud is what's happening, so it can make a decision on what the action should be based on the rules provided.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Okay, so just a few other things I wanted to touch on before we wrap up here. Batch printing only applies to Epic or anything else using our API print service. So Oracle or other EMRs that would use the LPD service don't apply in this case. But the idea behind batch printing is that you have a big set of documents that need to be printed out in a specific order. And so as far as how we handle that, Epic would submit the job to us, or excuse me, they would first submit a batch open request to us that just says, hey, I'm going to send a bunch of files to you in a second here. These are the IDs that you need to expect that are associated with each job, and don't print anything until we're done. And then it'll then send each print job, one at a time, and we'll note that the order that they're supposed to go in from the batch open, and then when that's done, we'll send a batch close, and we at that point we know, okay, cool, supposed to print it, and we will then fulfill that order by making sure that we only print the files in the order as specified. So we can maintain those processes where you have them. And then the other feature here was confirmed delivery. And confirmed delivery allows us to extend the communications that we are making with the printers themselves to get more information on what's actually happening on the printer. Without batch print, or excuse me, without confirmed delivery, all that we would normally know is we sent all the data of the job to the printer. And if we sent a 100-page document and we got all the data there, but then on page 50, the printer ran out of paper, as far as we know, that was still successful. Using confirmed delivery, we are able to get that type of information so that we can better know or catch those types of cases. So we use PGL status commands to do this. That's PGL is originally written by HP, but it's supported pretty universally by most manufacturers at this point. And after we send the job, we hold that connection open and we get the information back using the use status. And it's actually pretty fun to watch. You can see I printed page 1, page 2, page 3. You've seen it actually go through, and sure enough, if there's an issue, then you see that reflected in the communication as well. So it just gives you that greater confidence in when we report back that something was successful or not, that you know that that was actually the case. And then the last discrete feature I want to talk about is the output automation console. And this is technically in beta right now, so you're getting a little bit of a preview. But the console allows you to get a view over everything that's happening within your output environment. So on the left side of the interface, you would see your normal tree structure that you're used to seeing. You can select the folders or printers in any combination. And then based on what you've selected there, you'll see only the printers and print jobs that you've selected. And so as jobs flow through, you'll see them populate on the print jobs list, including if they were successful or not and any failures. And then same on the printer side, you can see the physical status of the printers if they're having any issues. And then you can also take action to help correct for issues. So if a printer's down, you can pause the queue so we stop sending jobs to it until the printer's back up. Or alternatively, you could redirect it so you start sending jobs to a different location. And same thing on the print jobs. If a print job failed, we'll retain that for a configurable time. I think it's 48 hours, so maybe 24 by default, but it's configurable. And we'll retain that job. So say if we send a job and it failed, you can come back, you can select it, you can either send it to a different printer or the same one, and just restore the job from that standpoint. So that is available in beta, and we would love for anyone to sign up for that. So to wrap up real quick then, the output automation platform is the real core message that I would like you to walk away with is just that we can take your disparate environments that normally have to be handled in a individual way and unify those under a single platform. There's no need to manage the administrative printing in a way that differently than you do with the printing coming from your EMR. And with that, get all the benefits of the streamlining that occurs because of that. And then along with that, the high availability that we ensure in the automation that we're providing to help modernize and simplify the processes that you have today. So that was the overall view there. I know Brock, I think you wanted to wrap up.
Yeah, and you mentioned the beta flight program briefly, and if you're interested in, trying some of these new features and taking them for a little test drive, and also providing us feedback on these features, scan this, and you'll be taken to our beta pilot program page, and you can see what flights are available now and coming up. So that's pretty exciting stuff there. Now, we're going to start our Q&A session, and before we get started with that, I do want to shamelessly make a request of our customers. If you haven't already, please consider reviewing us on Capterra, G2, and Trust Radius. We're going to display some QR codes here in a second. Ken, if you'll advance. Yeah, so you can also scan these QR codes. And for a chance to give us honest feedback that not only shapes our products like Printer Logic, but it also helps provide your peers across the IT profession who need assurance that they're making the best automation technology choices for their organizations. And on top of all that, you get $25 per review on each site. So please do consider reviewing us and giving us your feedback. So we did get a few questions that came in. One is, as the world goes digital, how will output automation support our digital transformation journey, or can it? Who wants to take that question?
Good question. So I alluded to that a little bit in how we solve that with our print shop archival. Technically, what's really happening there is we're just forwarding that file on to our automation platform. One of the things that it happens to be able to do is to archive and index files, but in addition to that, it can pass it into a workflow, or it can be used as part of a form. And so there's any number of things that you can do instead of printing that could help you to modernize and to get to that digital transformation.
Thank you for that. You mentioned a transportation. Let me see what it says here. You mentioned a transportation kind of instance or case study. Are there any examples from healthcare where they're using output automation in really exciting ways.
Yeah, I mean, so one of the things that we've been looking at doing with some of our customers, outside of just the more basic things that we've talked about as far as extending secure release and the off-network printing, is incorporating us into some of their actual workflows. And kind of extending into what we're really going to cover in the next webinar about our automation platform, where output can act as that ingestion point to then feed the document into the various workflows. And to give a specific example, there's one customer who had files that were coming in this case as a fax. But normally that fax would be then handed off to a email service, which then sends it into SharePoint, where now there's just a bunch of these faxes that a clinician actually has to go through one by one and fill in any blank gaps and figure out what type of document it was. And so we're looking at using our Automate platform with output as the ingestion point to then be able to use OCR to identify the type of document automatically, and then fill in data where possible. And then it can also go and take if there's certain what's what I'm looking for, certain attributes that it can't determine via OCR, it will mark it down for the review and that type of thing. And so we're really starting to delve into some of these more advanced use cases to help customers in that digital transformation journey.
And that answer kind of segues into the third question and final question that we received, which is just basically someone wanted to know about your job title, Boston. That they noticed that your job title mentions AI. So how does AI figure into output management, or does it?
Yeah, so that's a good question. The full truth is that I help with the output team and also the AI team, which are separate teams. That being said, the AI team is new, and we're starting to build AI features across the platform of Vasion and Printer Logic. And output is one of those. We've actually been doing a lot of discovery on what's coming soon. So there's some really cool AI features that are going to be enabled in the product in the next year or so, and keep your eye out for them as they come.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We're coming up on time, so I did want to go ahead and close this out. If you have additional questions, please feel free, of course, to, if you're a customer, reach out to your CSMs, or if you're a partner, you reach out to your channel manager contacts there. And you can also reach out to me. My name is Brock Fawcett. My email address is brock.fawcett@vasion.com. And we'll be sure also to follow up with you and send you an email with a recording of this presentation. And as far as that goes, please also remember that we have another session coming up next month, where we'll be presenting you some of the Vasion, broader Vasion possibilities and technologies with orchestrated automation. So with that, I wish you a fantastic week, and I hope to see you in the next episode in September. Have a good day.